What is up, everyone? Harry the Big Dog here, and I'm feeling pretty dope today. Yo, shout outs to Free Agent Soul, Free Agent Radio, and Broadcast Hip Hop Network. Those is my boys. Heavy hitter DJ Cam and Raymond J. Fox. Go listen, but not right now. Today, we are looking at the cars from back in the day. Now, everybody know they used to have the kids riding on the armrest. Nobody wore a seatbelt. Them cars were like tanks. I mean, made of steel. You got 8 or 9 miles to the gallon. That's how bad them cars were. um, I'm gonna show you a few cars you may or may not remember. So let's get into this. All right, the first one up is the Buick Electra Deuce and a Quarter. 225. It was nicknamed the Deuce and a Quarter. This thing was big, it was bulky. You could fit, if you move the front seats up, it's like a living room in there. You could fit anything up in that piece. Next up is the AMC Pacer. This was the car with the pretty much the car was a big window. I don't know. I think I remember my man DJ P Nice had one. Paul, if you're listening, put a reminder in there. Let me know if you had one of these. I do remember you had these things. They were not safe. They were little. You crash in them, they're done. The Oldsmobile 98. This was coming towards this model here is coming towards the late 70s when um cars were getting smaller. We already had the gas crisis of the early 70s, so manufacturers started making cars a little smaller. So with these cars, you might get 13 or 14 miles to the gallon instead of 7 or 8. I'm not watching the chat right now. I'll come back to it. These cars were so dope. The hip hop artists made a record after it. My Oldsmobile 98 is Sue, Sue, Sue. Y'all remember that? Public Enemy, come on. Next up is the Datsun B210. Now, a lot of my Jamaican friends, no racialness and nothing in it, but a lot of my Jamaican friends had these cars. They were durable. This was pre Nissan. This was Datsun. Then it became Nissan Datsun, and then Nissan took over the name. But these were the original tanks. You could go anywhere with them. They were stick. They would never die. This is when they were okay. Next up, the BMW 2002. I know y'all remember these. I know you remember these. Put in the chat if you remember them, whether you're watching live or watching in the replay. These were the ones I've seen, the bright red ones. I've seen the one where they spray painted the hubcaps on them, and then the rims they spray painted them golds too. So another dope car. These things were tanks too. They lasted forever. You can drive them, you can beat them up, and they'll still keep going. Next up, the Volkswagen Beetle. This was one of the last air cooled cars. which was unheard of because cars were big and bulky, the engines got hot that you could fry food on. This was the last of the air cooled. Engine was in the back. In the front, you can lift up. That's where you put all your luggage. And the spare tire was in there. You could actually fit four people in there, unlike a Chevy Camaro convertible of today or a Ford Mustang. You couldn't fit four people in there. These cars, as small as they were, and they were durable, last you forever, ever, ever. Next up, the Ford Granada. I remember these things, the two-door, the four-door models. They were all lined up in the projects. Shout out to Edomall Projects. They were all lined up there. One of my man's Diesel had one, and he would cut it off, and the car would just never stop. I don't know how he got it to stop, but eventually, I don't know if it ran out of gas, ran out of air, whatever. Next up, the Cadillac Seville. You guys remember this because all the slightly older Mac daddies had these cars. Oh, and they were so comfortable. This was when Cadillac was I think coming down from the real bigger cars like that Deuce and a Quarter I showed you in the first picture. Cadillacs were that big back then, and then they started slimming down. They also made a two-door version of this Seville. So dope, dope, dope. And I don't know if they actually manufactured it from the plant or somebody cut these things down, but I've seen quite a few. Next up is the Chevy Nova. Now, I had to put this title on separately because these are my bonus. These are my bonus for everybody who's staying with me to the end. That is me in my first car, the Chevy Nova. I had three of them. Three of them. My first couple of cars were Chevy Novas. This was my six cylinder. I had the shift kit, the whole nine in it. This one here was my burgundy one. If you can make it out right behind one of my good friends, George. This was my second or third one. I know one of them burnt up. I got the engine changed and it burnt up. So that is it, my dogs. Let me check this chat and see. We got Jeff. What's up, my bro? Yes, definitely those seatbelts. He had a 72 Cadillac. Man, oh man. Yes, you remember that Gremlin. They also had the Delta 88 as opposed and the Oldsmobile 98. Tony Crush, yes, the four-door one. They had the two-door one. Yes. I loved four-door cars because I never liked opening that one door and letting people in the back. I have to wait. They can get in the back themselves. I am Harry the Big Dog, and this is the day number 10. Wow, we are rolling. Day number 10 of 50, the 50-day countdown to the 50th anniversary of hip hop.